I am honored and blessed to be here today with my friend and mentor and in some ways spiritual advisor, General Flynn. General, what brings us out here today?
Wow, well, we have we're here in Palm Beach. We're going to be going over to Mar-a-Lago tonight to the president's home, and we have really a gala to recognize American exceptionalism. And what that means is basically the nonprofit that I have is called America's Future, and I'm the chairman of it. It's one of the oldest nonprofits in the country, America's Future, and it's a great organization. We have a great team. And tonight we want to recognize basically people who have gone through the ringer in life and risen out of the ashes and have really gone on to inspire millions and millions of other people, either through their faith, through their family, their family situations and how they've overcome adversity, through being persecuted by our government in some cases. But tonight is really it's a night to celebrate America. We're really excited about it. America's Future and our team. My sister Mary. We just have an extraordinary group of people who deeply, deeply love this country. We have been very passionate about children, and that's one of the sort of the main lines of effort that our nonprofit gets involved in. We have Project Defend and Protect Children, and it's really been for me, it's been one of those times in my life where I really feel like I'm giving back to the community of America in a huge, huge way. I mean, I've spent most of my adult life, half my adult life, actually more than half in the military, and served many years overseas and at least 5 years in combat. And it's rewarding. I loved all that time serving around the people, my immediate family, my wife and I. We've been together for a long time, and we really were inspired by the people that we serve with in the military. But since we've gotten out, we've sort of found this, we find this new direction in life, and really children at the center of it, because I think if we fight for our children, then we're fighting for the future of the country, and that's kind of what this is all about.
General, 20 years ago, they started going after college kids, right? We saw the liberal indoctrination in campuses. And now they're going after, we pulled our little kids, our elementary school kids out and homeschooled them because of the targeting. Why the shift?
Yeah, I think what people need to realize is that in the late 1970s, under President Jimmy Carter, and it started slightly before him, probably 10 years before him, when there was a concerted effort to go after the family and to break the family down. And the initial target set was the black community. And they really went after tear apart the black community first, go after the families, go after the communities. And then they had to figure out how do they get the rest of America. And when I say they, this is really it's really a communist element that rose up in our country. And I think, people that have woken up to what we're facing now, this sort of globalist Marxist movement. But in the late 70s is when the Department of Education was stood up. Most people don't realize that all these executive branch departments that President Trump is going after now and starting to look under the carpet, right, of these organizations, all those executive branches serve at the pleasure of the president. And with very, very few exceptions, none of them are in the Constitution. So Jimmy Carter, when he was president, for one term, he created the Department of Education. And what the Department of Education did was it turned into a unionized socialist experiment to completely change the fabric of our education system in the United States of America. That was in the late 1970s. So here we are, and we've gone through a bunch of presidents who have generally recognized it, but nobody really did anything about it. President Trump is probably the first president to do something about it because it is just so blatant. It's no longer, high schoolers or even college kids. They're down in elementary schools where they're teaching about, being anything you want to be in terms of, LGBTQ, drag queen, story hour, kitty porn. It's like the types of of books and other materials that have been pushed into our elementary school level, public school education, the libraries. I mean, it's indisputable. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's very real, and it began much, much longer ago than most people, realize. And I think what's happened, people like yourself who have young children, and if you're a busy one-parent family, or you're a two-parent family, and you're both working because you're trying to make ends meet, you're trying to have a decent life for your children, you're probably putting your kids into public school. If you can't, if you don't want to, then you got to pay additional monies to put them into private or charter or the homeschool. But I do know that the rise of homeschooling, God, in the last 10, certainly the last 5, it's exploded because the American parent has finally said enough is enough. I'm not going to send my kids to this filth and to this place where they're going to be taught things that are anti-American, because the Department of Education, now led by Linda McMahon, who Trump put into that job, and I think she's going to end up shutting it down. The Department of Education has become a socialist bastion, and like I said, it's kind of the unionization and the socialization, but it is a bastion of socialism. And these are people who want to take control of your children, and they want to take control of what they're taught. So they're taught the things that matter to them, that don't matter to a parent. The most important education that a kid's going to get is, we call it the school of hard knocks, right? It's at home, it's in a family environment, it's out, learning with other kids, right? You can get the book stuff, and you need the book stuff, but I think that what we have learned in the last 10 years, and certainly what the American people woke up to, given Trump this mandated victory, is that, look, we need a change in our school department, in our public school education system. We cannot continue to pay through our teeth as a nation for public school education, and we end up down in like the bottom tier of developed nations. This is insane.
So let me ask you this. You talk about money, right? Mm-hmm. What Doge is uncovering is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people who are really angry. People who were middle of the road, people who didn't even vote for President Trump, right, are furious right now. Where do you go from here? How do you stop it? And should we just take our foot off the gas and give a pass to the people who are doing this, or what should the consequences be?
Yeah, there's got to be accountability. So I think what the American people are demanding now, and certainly demanded during this election, is the level of transparency from the government that the government has never given us. Trump was trying it during his first term, but everybody saw what happened to him during that first term. I mean, he did amazing things, but he was brutally attacked. This time around it is different, and we're lucky, we're blessed as a nation here to have had him decide to run again. Mm-hmm. He's a very historic figure. He's not a president that's just another political guy that won the presidency. He's a historic figure, only comes around once in a long period of history. Don't know when another guy like him is going to be around again. So I think that's what the American people saw. So number one, I think, I believe strongly that Trump's going to continue to unravel what the government, our federal government, has been doing for a long time. Basically just stealing us blind, and it's ridiculous. It's completely insane what we're learning. The other thing is, at a certain point in time, and he knows that because he knows he's going to have to do that, you can't keep uncovering billions and billions of dollars that have been stolen or put aside into, I think it's $20 billion in gold, mm-hmm, from one of the agencies. It was moved into a couple of banks. I mean, you're looking at some ungodly number. It's like $1 trillion that is not tracked on any kind of category or code, within the Treasury Department. I mean,
saw that today, trillions.
How does this happen? So somebody has to be held accountable. And there are, USAID is probably the most glaring example. And there was, the USAID, the director of USAID for the last 4 years, been Samantha Power. I mean, and if her fingerprints are on decisions, it's kind of like, because of your audience too, law enforcement professionals on the street, they want to get the drugs off the street. They want to get the drugs away from the kids' playgrounds, right? And you do, and you work your tail off to do that. But if you follow that thread, it goes to somebody at a much higher level.
Yep.
And then you bring in, federal authorities, you bring in, you do law enforcement stings to try to get to where the money's at, to try to get to where the leadership is at. Because if you can arrest some of these big pins, right, these big kingpins, then it shuts the networks down for a while. And I think that's what's going to have to happen. I firmly believe that. And I can tell you that the American people are going to demand it. They're going to demand it. They're going to want to see somebody of some significance. And whether it's going back to Russiagate, which is still on the books, impeachment gates, Jack Smith gate, now it's going to be government gate, it's Doge gate, right? I mean, people have to be held accountable. And it can't be some little GS whatever, some government servant down at some low level that said, well, I was told to do it. Okay, well, you were wrong to do it, so you're probably going to be let go. But who told you to do it? And then you go to that person. It's an investigation that is going to have to be done. And the American people will not stand for another 3 or 4 year Durham investigation.
General, law and order and law enforcement is biblical in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Why, in your opinion, is it so important that we right now bring God back into society?
Yeah, and I think that, so law and order, law enforcement, order in general, it brings a structure to a society. And as long as it's fair, then that society is probably going to be a decent society. And it has a rule of law, and it has the underpinning of some type of constitution. Ours is the greatest constitution that was ever written in the history of mankind. There have been other constitutional republics in history, but our particular document is the foundation of our particular document is the rule of law. And that foundation, that document itself, it is derived from the Bible. So when you read and you study the history of our Constitution, they'll tell you, even the people that bid it a little bit, they'll still tell you like 70 to 75% of the Constitution was written based on the foundations of the Bible and biblical principles. So there's a structure to Christianity. There's a structure to the biblical principles that we try to live our lives by, just being good, right? Good to others. Holding yourself accountable, following, the commandments, if you will, right? Just basic things. Good, being good to your neighbor, treating others like you like to be treated, the golden rule. That all is derived from biblical principles. Those principles were what were put into our Constitution, and our Constitution is the one document in the history of mankind that provides probably the greatest sense of order for a society to be able to maintain ourselves in. This is our 250th year, and what I'm hopeful for is that we can go another 250 years.
Amen to that. How can people learn more about the organization, support you?
Yeah.
What's the ask?
Yeah, so the big thing here with us here and going forward is America's Future is it's probably the oldest nonprofit in the country. We were created in 1946. People can go to americasfuture.net, americasfuture.net, and take a look at us there. You can follow us, America's Future, at America's Future on X, on social media. If you go to that website, you'll get a sense of who we are, who our team is, which is really important, and then the objectives that we have to help the country move forward. My personal goal is to, fight like the Dickens to save this country, and I won't give up on that.
I love it. I think it was C.S. Lewis that said that it's his hope that when he dies, all of hell will rejoice that he's finally out of the fight. And man, that quote just makes me think of you because you are a true warrior and a servant, and I'm blessed to call you a friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
God bless.
thank you for coming on.
Thanks.
Guys, thank you for hitting that share button. Thank you for praying for this man, his family, and this organization. Thanks for supporting such a great cause. God bless you all, and God bless America.